Well, all right, boys and girls. I know it's a little later than usual, but hopefully you're tucked in. You've had your milk and cookies. It's Thorytime Thursday, and we're about to get slammed! That's right! Now we're officially at Chapter 4 of Slammed, the interactive novel, The Old Brit. Mueller Albert Ballroom, Quacktown, Pennsylvania. What do you drop-kicking mean the Federation dissolved? Vinny's already broken one cigar. Right now he's working on grinding the other down to a nub, and who can blame him? Just what I said, says Curtis Jackman. Curtis is one of the stars of Phoenix Power Slam Pro, or he was. Apparently, the owners of PPP had skipped town after the last show, a week ago, taking all the ticket sales and wrestlers' wages with them. As a result, Curtis was one of only 3 wrestlers who had shown up for today's joint show with the BWF. So why didn't you dropkick and tell me about this last week? Vinny stabs his cigar towards the curtains, beyond which await a restless crowd that's practically spilling out onto the street. Why didn't you tell them? Why didn't you cancel the show? Curtis makes a placating gesture. We gotta go on with the show, man. I need to get that deposit back. They used my money for it, and I'm already in the red. What am I, a leg-dropping charity? And there goes the cigar. Don't use me to clean up your mess. And a show? Vinny flails a hand at you, Dom Sagramore, and 2 other wrestlers. This was supposed to be a joint 3-hour show, you maniac! I bring the star power, you bring the manpower. That was the deal. I only brought 4 wrestlers with me, chop, damn it! And only 2 are worth the damn! Vinny Gator, master of morale. I might be able to convince a few others to come in. Maybe. Hopefully. Curtis looks like he's about to cry. Come on, Vinny. Show a worker some love. Well, why don't we ask the other workers, huh? Put it to a vote. Vinny turns to the 4 of you. All of those in favor of royally screw-jobbing yourselves, raise your hands. Dom Sagramore raises her hand. Vinny blinks. Listen, Edith, you deserve a better send-off than this, Vinny says. We'll reschedule. Put on a show worthy of you. Dom Sagramore shakes her head. This is my last show, Vinny, by hook or by crook. The other 2 wrestlers are fairly new, and they look at each other, then look at you. I raise my hand. I'm a professional. I raise my hand. I won't get paid if I refund tickets. Shake my head. No, I was picked. Burnout was picked. You raise your hand with confidence. We came here to put on a show. So let's put on a show, shall we? The 2 rookies look at each other, grin, then punch their hands into the air. Dom Sagramore claps you on the shoulder and gives you a smile. Vinny shakes his head and takes out another cigar. You don't want to know what'll happen if he runs out. Well then, geniuses, you guys figure out how to book a 3-hour show with 7 wrestlers. I'll be setting up the merchandise stands. Vinny walks away, leaving you with the other wrestlers. Curtis turns to Dom Sagramore. What are we going to do, ma'am? Dom Sagramore places a hand on your shoulder. I'll let the young lady here decide. You blink. What? Dom Sagramore smiles. Vinny sees a bright future for you, Dietrich, and I agree. It's why he paired us for my last run. So I could train you up. That involves more than giving you a drubbing in the ring. Letting you deal with the ups and downs of the business is another. So, show me what you've got. You think that maybe Dom Sagramore is taking your kayfabe feud but a bit too literally. The storyline had begun when Dom Sagramore announced her retirement at a big show 3 months ago. As she was cutting an emotional promo, thanking the fans for their support through the years, Broken Shell began to blare through the speakers, and you came down to the ring to challenge the old Brit, telling her that it was about time that she retired and that Dom Sagramore couldn't compete at your level anymore. You asked her to spare herself the embarrassment and simply cede the title to you. Instead, Dom Sagramore had thrown you out of the ring, then given you 29 chances to beat her, one for each year she had been in the business. Your final match is a home weapons match, where fans bring in mundane household items, not knives or aluminum bats or anything too obviously capable of violence, for the wrestlers to use against each other. You can't imagine stretching that match to more than 30 minutes. Fans expect weapons matches to be brutal, but what else can you do to fill the hours without extending the matches? Have extended dueling promo segments? Disguise them recycle wrestlers? Ask Dom Sagramore if she has any ideas. I mean, okay, on one end, asking the vet if they've got any ideas is a good idea is a good idea in itself. Because clearly they've been here before. 29 years, she's dealt with this at some point. You know, I mean, there are one-man promo segments that last 20 minutes nowadays in certain promotions. Then again, disguising the wrestlers could showcase new talents. And if they keep the matches short and sweet, shouldn't be too much of a big deal. Nikes. She wants to see what you know. She wants to trust you on this. The promos can hype the show up, and it doesn't waste opportunities. These people really get to shine. But that's 3 hours. Seven matches or 7 wrestlers? I can't go back. We'll just have to do double duty. Probably should have asked her, huh? Well, you say rubbing your chin for effect. There's no reason for the crowd to know we only have a handful of wrestlers, right? Dom Sagramore nods her approval. Pull down the veil. Good thinking, young lady. Curtis, you say. Didn't a few guys and gals from your roster used to borrow gear and props from a nearby costume shop? Sure, says Curtis. Harui's folks run Das Masquerade. Just down the block. They're big fans. Take us there, and if you convince them to lend us a few pieces, we'll give you your show. By the time you and the others return to the arena, you're carrying enough masks, sequins, jackets, goggles, and other paraphernalia to attire each of you in 6 different gimmicks. F me, I thought we were just doing double duty. Fortunately, Curtis is able to bring in a few other former PPP wrestlers, so the 4 of you from the BWF only need to have 2 matches each. Oh, thank God. Okay. The alternative gimmick you choose from the rather kitschy options available combines a black denim punk rock outfit with a plastic cattle prod and a pair of tattered broken fairy wings. Fallen Fairy has a 20-minute match with the Stalking Skeptic, one of the BWF rookies that you force into a pair of ridiculous patchwork fishnets. You go over, of course, rank hath its privileges. You return backstage tired, but happy. The rest of the first half of the show goes off remarkably well, all things considered. Soon enough, it's time for the intermission. Normally, you'd be out there with the others, selling your merchandise to the fans, but when you started the angle with Dom Sagramore, Vinny decided that you and the old Brit need to be kept away from the fans until after your match. Instead, some of the BWF staff are in charge of selling your merchandise and promising those who purchase the photos, posters, and postcards that a signing will take place after the main event. So you spend the intermission in the locker room stretching in anticipation for your last match with Dom Sagramore. Almost as soon as you've begun, she comes in and takes a seat on a bench across from you. You raise a hand in greeting. Good idea, those disguises, Dom Sagramore says. Even those in the crowd who know that we're just reusing wrestlers seem to appreciate the effort we've gone through to give them a longer show. I'm just glad it worked out, you say. Dom Sagramore leans in against one of the lockers. She seems not tired, but free of tension, content with where she is. It's a rare, quiet moment, and you're once again struck by the thought that, in some small way, you're now part of the Dom Sagramore legend. You think that any wrestler, whether or not a fan of the old Brit, would feel some awe at being present at the very end of her storied career. You feel the urge to ask her a question. Was it worth it? Are you going to miss this? Any regrets here at the end? The first 2 are obvious yeses. See if there are any regrets. Undoubtedly, there would be. There's a story behind each. That's what you'd like to hear. Dom Sagramore closes her eyes, and for a moment you think that she isn't going to answer. Then, I've seen a lot of things in 3 decades of wrestling. Been a lot of things. Been on top, been at the very bottom. Do you know, young lady, I've known some workers who count the number of miles that they travel. Always seemed a bit of a waste to me. That's not the numbers that matter. When I started out, what I tried to keep track of was the number of hours I spent in ring, in front of a crowd. Lost track around 10,150. The old Brit holds up a calloused hand, the skin still tight, but showing plenty of wear and tear. What can a woman create in 10,000 hours, do you think? A temple? A garden? A fortune? A family? I've made nothing so concrete. What I have to show are the only 3 things that this business of ours can promise. Fans, friends, and foes. Dom Sagramore holds up 3 fingers, then ticks them off one by one. The first group seldom know my face, much less the real me. The second only become that when you stop being a threat to their position on the card. He stares at the sole remaining finger. But foes. Ah, foes, you can always count on them. My foes are what get me out of the bed in the morning. Every match is another chance to make them eat crow. To prove them wrong, to show him that if he had only booked you, well, given you a fair shake, you would have balanced the cost, justified his beliefs. Dom Sagramore suddenly takes a sharp, deep breath, realizing she was on her feet. Or maybe realizing that she had gone from a general indictment to a rant against the unnamed him. I apologize, lady. That was unprofessional of me. Dom Sagramore shakes her head. I won't miss this life. Oh, snap, okay. But I regret the fact that leaving it will mean some wrongs will never be made right. I understand. Wow, maybe I should just retire with you. I stay silent. It's not my place to speak. That's her moment. Before Dom Sagramore can say anything more, you hear a respectful knock on the door. Sam peeps in, looking for all the world like he'd rather be anywhere else. You wonder how much he overheard. Sorry to bother you, but May has an old friend here to see her. Me? You say, that must be a mistake. You don't know anyone in the area. You sure this isn't like that time in Texas? Oh, I'm sure you know this girl. You turn to Dom Sagramore, but she's already waving you off. Go on. We have some time before you take my title. She smiles. Vinny sent word that he wants to talk to me before we head out anyway. You exchange a handshake with the old Brit, then let Sam lead you out into the backstage foyer. There's a lot of activity preparing for the resumption of matches, but you don't see your visitor in the throng. You're about to ask Sam just who's here to see you when a pair of huge arms wrap themselves around you. You squirm in the vice-like grip but can't break free. Who the hell? May! You know that enthusiastic bellow. Gianna? The big Samoan releases you and laughs. Someone needs to work on her upper body strength, I see. The two of you exchange a more proper hug, with a side order of backslapping for good measure. Are you surprised? John agrees. You are, aren't you? That's an understatement. Gianna hadn't been the same after the car accident. Even if you'd been the one behind the wheel, Gianna had been overwhelmed with guilt. She'd given up amateur wrestling as well as her dream of becoming a professional wrestler, much to the disappointment of her family. You'd kept in touch, but Gianna refused to talk about wrestling at all, which made for a rather limited conversation, given your career and interests. In spite of your friendship, she was probably the last person you expected to see at a wrestling show. What are you doing here? I was in the area on business, Gianna says, and I heard that you were wrestling Dom Sagramore. Dom Sagramore! How could I miss it? Easily given her disavowal of all things wrestling for the past few years, you wonder if you should bring that up or just take it as a good sign. I don't want to know, but I feel obliged to ask. I probe further. Gianna worries me. Just accept it. I am curious. Listen, Gianna, you begin. Don't think I'm not touched that you're here, but you've sworn off any interest in wrestling for years. What's changed since then? What are you saying, huh? Gianna's face takes a hurt expression. I can't decide to come and see a friend? I'm not saying that. You hold up your hands while mentally cursing. I'm just surprised, that's all, and, well, surprising you was the point. I assumed it would be a good surprise, but apparently I was wrong. Oh, God, now she's pouting. You can tell your old friend is being evasive. But if Gianna is this defensive about something, it's usually not worth the effort to draw her out. Okay, let's just start over, you say. At which point Gianna wraps you in a bear hug again. Not literally, you moron, you say, but you're laughing. So, Gianna says after she releases you, wrestling Dom Sagramore. Awesome or super awesome? You tell Gianna about the past few months, and she responds with her trademark disproportionate excitement. As soon as it's like old times again. Except during those good old days, there were 3 of you. Neither of you mentioned JJ. And even as you're enjoying your conversation, the specter of your former friend's absence weighs on you. If Gianna heard of your match with Dom Sagramore, then she's heard of JJ quickly becoming one of the GWA's fastest rising stars. Heck, you've tried to avoid tracking JJ's career, but it's just proved impossible not to hear about her, especially after she won the Alpha Women's Championship. JJ's a favorite topic of the scoop sheets, the fan bloggers, even the other wrestlers. You've even seen people wearing her official shirt during your shows. You always make sure to single out those fans when you're taunting the crowd. You can't help but wonder if Gianna's been in touch with JJ as well. Finally, you can't suppress your curiosity any longer and decide to approach the topic from an angle. So, you say, perhaps too casually, have you had any chance to watch Wednesday Night Wrestling recent? It's like, have you got your match all worked out for later? You blink. Well, the basics, sure. A lot will depend on the weapons the fans bring, and Dom Sagramore tends to call a lot of on the fly. Oh man, I'd be so nervous winging it with Forrest Dundee in the audience, she says. But at least Dom Sagramore's one of the, hey! Unthinking, you'd grab Gianna by the collar and pulled her down to your eye level. What did you say? Gianna looks confused. You mean that Dom Sagramore is one of the... No, the other part. Dundee is here? Now? Yeah, Gianna says. You didn't know? And with that, boys and girls, we're going to call it an evening. We'll find out more about Dundee next time. Until then, this has been Thorytime Thursday. Now, let's get some sleep.